Hey, BookTube Sean here, coming to you with my weekly wrap-up, and hopefully this one will be a little bit shorter than my 25-minute rambling last week. Actually, almost wasn't going to film one this week because I've had a pretty uneventful week, book-wise. I did finish one book, and it's not the book you're probably thinking it is, based on what I've said in previous videos. I picked up one book this week, start there, and it was The Stone Sky. My pre-order came in on Tuesday, and I had actually worked from home on Tuesday so that I would be home when the package came and I could kind of sneak in some reading here and there while I was working. And of course, that's the one day in the week the mail came about the time I would have gotten home from work anyway, so it really didn't make a difference. But I got about a little over 100 pages into it on Tuesday night. Wednesday, I was driving home from work. Excited to get home and get back into the book, maybe get another 100 or so pages into it. Stopped at the store, came out of the store with my purchases, and turned the ignition on my car, and car wouldn't start. So my Wednesday night was getting the car towed to the shop and just not in a mentally good place. Just couldn't really focus on reading Wednesday night. Thursday, I got word that they thought it was the starter. They were going to replace that, and then about the time that they were going to be closing, I called, because I tow it to a place that's within walking distance from my house, so I don't have to rely on anybody for rides up there and back. So I gave them a call about 10 minutes to closing and said, hey, is my car going to be ready? Because it takes me about 10 minutes to walk up there, and you guys are going to be closing soon, or is it going to be tomorrow morning? And then they said, it's not the starter, we're still investigating it. Come to find out on Friday, the timing belt had snapped, and the way the engine is made in this car, I guess they call it an interference engine or something. It was basically going to need an entirely new engine. It was going to be an engine replacement, which the car is 10 years old, over 150,000 miles. It wasn't worth the expense of putting an engine in it. So that was basically the end of my week. So now I got to look into getting a new car, and I just wasn't able to focus on reading for a couple of days. My mind just wasn't there. It was just elsewhere. As excited as I was to get into this, and I was hoping to have it finished by now. I was actually hoping to have it finished by the time my wife got home from being out of town on Friday evening. But, such is life. So I'm not going to be able to focus solely on this, I don't think, like I wanted to, because I have a couple of arcs that I need to read alongside it too, and I picked up a couple of buddy reads. About 150 pages into this now. I'm really, really enjoying it, and I just heard from James Chatham, who I'm in a kind of a buddy read group on Voxer with, to discuss this. His last update was he was just through chapter 10, and I've heard him say that I didn't listen to the update because it's I'm not there yet, but I've heard him say elsewhere too that it's just getting phenomenal. But in that group is James Chatham, Kitty G, Caitlin from Kitty G, Sam from Sam's Nonsense, and Rhea from Bofinkins, and I'll link all their channels below. So yeah, hoping to get further into this week and get this finished up. The book I finished was one of my arcs, an arc of Sea of Rust by C. Robert Cargill, and it started off. I wasn't sure about it at the start, but I did end up really liking it. I'll have a more in-depth review coming because it's an arc. I need to do a full review on it, so I'll have a full review of that coming, both video and on my blog. But it's a novel set kind of after the robot apocalypse. Humans don't exist anymore. Robots and computers are the only sentient beings on Earth. And it's kind of about the robots are kind of becoming endangered themselves as supercomputers are wanting to incorporate them all into a one-world intelligence. But more on that at a later date. So that's basically been my week. I went to the library yesterday. I picked up some library books, so I'll do a little bit of a library haul. Oh, the other buddy read I picked up outside of the Stone Sky, which is kind of just a group chat about. Julie from A Girl in a Book and I are going to read The Witching Hour, and this is over 1,000-page book that I've always kind of wanted to read. And she said she'd been feeling kind of drawn to it, and I said, you know what? If I still have my copy, I'll join you, because it's probably the only way I'll ever get it read is if I read it with someone. So yeah, her and I are gonna do just a really slow paced buddy read on this. So it'll be easy to handle while I'm reading other things. But library haul. I picked up Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I've checked this out from the library before and haven't gotten to it, but I've been hearing a lot about it again recently. I heard there's going to be a movie of it, and it's about the 12th expedition into this place called Area X, and nobody from the previous 11 expeditions has survived, and that's really about as much as I know. It's weird. I know it's kind of out there. So hopefully I'll get to it this time. I don't know if I'm going to get to any of these library books, but I was there returning some books, and I can't ever resist just checking out things that look interesting to me at the time. I picked up Lillian Boxfish Takes a Walk. This is one I've really been thinking about lately. I've kind of wanted to read. It's about an 85-year-old woman. Yeah, 85-year-old woman on taking a walk around Manhattan on New Year's Eve of 1984. And it's really just about the people she encounters on that walk and her adventure of that walk. And I like those kind of stories. I picked up Brooklyn by Colm Toibin, I think is how you pronounce his last name. This is one I've been wanting to check this author out. The one I was hoping to get was his House of Names, his new novel. And I forget exactly what it's about, but I've heard really good things about it, and I wanted to check it out. And they'd had it the last couple times I was there, and I didn't check it out. And of course, this time they didn't have it in, but they had this, and this is one I've been wanting to read of his too. And this is about an Irish immigrant in Brooklyn in the 1950s, and that's really as much as I know about it. I also checked out Behind the Throne by K.B. Wagers. This is the first book of the Indranan War. Not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but I had a buddy recommend this to me who's really big into sci-fi. He's actually a writer himself, and I really trust his opinion on stuff, so he really enjoyed this book. And this is about a gun runner who is she's the only remaining heir of the Indranan Empire, and she has to leave her life of gun running to take her seat on the throne. And yeah, my buddy said it was really fun, really good book. And this one, I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to read probably bits of it. I really just checked it out so I could look at it further because it looked cool. But this is called The Weird. It is a compendium of strange and dark stories edited by Anne and Jeff Vandermeer. And this has stories going all the way back to the beginning of the 20th century. I think 1908 is the earliest story. So it's got stuff like Dunwich Horror by H.P. Lovecraft, and there's a Stephen King story in here. There's Haruki Murakami, George R.R. Martin, Kelly Link, Franz Kafka, Michael Chabon, Neil Gaiman. So I didn't have time to sit and look at it at the library, so I just checked it out so I could look at it at home. And there's no way I'll read this whole thing while I have it out from the library, but I just wanted to look into it a little bit further. But that's pretty much it. That's kind of my weekend books this week. Nothing horribly exciting because life kind of took over a little bit. Like, I was hoping to be able to report on the Stone Sky to you guys a little bit without, obviously without doing spoilers for those who haven't read the series. But yeah, life just kind of took over this week. Hoping to get into some stuff this week further into the Stone Sky. Hopefully finish that. And I'm hoping to finish my arc of Revenant Winds by Mitchell Hogan this week and get into my arc of Golden House by Salman Rushdie. I have another buddy read that might be coming up with Rachel at Shades of Orange whenever she gets her book from the library, we're going to read. And I think Julie from A Girl in a Book is going to join us too. I think it was actually them, and then I kind of tagged along. But I don't know if everybody's still in or not. Yeah, we're going to read The Blade Itself, the first book of the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. So that might be starting this week, might be starting over the weekend, next weekend, or next week. It just depends on when Rachel gets her book in. But that's it. Yeah. More eventful in life than in books this week. So I got to deal with trying to get into a car this week too, with my wife still largely unavailable. She's home this week, but she's just tied up a lot of nights. She's assistant directing a play, and then she's involved in a theater festival this next coming weekend. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but hopefully life doesn't take over too much, and I can get some heavy reading in this week. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you to all my subscribers, and hook up with me on social media, Goodreads, Twitter, and I wish you all good reading. I'll see you in my next video.